Do you know what kind of scan tool functions are unique for Volkswagen Audi Group vehicles? We're going to dive right into it using a snap-on scanner. Let's go. Now let's get into some scan tool, OEM specific scan tool related functions. So first off, the engine related tests. So the sequential actuator test, like I said, so you go in there and you would just say, okay, do the actuator test, and then it puts a little timer on the screen and it would go through and cycle through them individually. Lots and lots and lots of ECU coding in there, and it can get kind of complicated doing it. If you know what you're doing, it's very powerful. If you're not sure what you're doing, you could break some stuff, so you just want to be aware of that when it comes to coding. Some of the coding actually we've simplified as well, and I think I have an example that I can show you on one of these cars. We actually go in and you can choose from a list of items instead of actually typing in a code, which is nice. Expert mode as well. So expert mode is going to basically work like the factory tool in most cases, where you can do long coding and adaptations and all this other stuff, security access, special procedures, basic settings, measured value blocks as well. And that's my next bullet point, right? Is value blocks versus data stream. So on the factory tool, the way it reads data, or at least the way it used to read data, I'm not sure if they've made any updates to it recently, but it would be in blocks of 4 data. So you'd have to know what value block you're looking for, punch that in, and then it would pull back the 4 PIDs that are in that value. Versus what we've done over the last 8-10 years or so is we brought a lot of that data over into the OEM specific scanner side, and you can just go into the scanner, go into the engine, just pull up all the PIDs all at once and not have to worry about those measured values blocks. So this is actually a screenshot off of expert mode. So this is some of the examples of things you could do in expert. And as far as expert mode is concerned, this is out of the manual as well. And this is basically what we cover on expert mode. By and large, you'll see it gets up to like the mid 2000s. On some of the newer vehicles, you still can, but it's not necessarily called out specifically, and your mileage may vary. On anything newer than 05, I would probably try to stick to just the factory, the scanner side, and just do it that way, because a lot of that stuff did get brought over as well. There's some things you might have to go in there to do, but if you know what you're doing, then it can be pretty powerful. As far as transmission's concerned, ECU coding, once again, like I said, coding's pretty big across Volkswagen Audi as a rule. Just so you can change functions and features in the vehicle just by typing in a code or choosing from a list of presets. And there's also an adaptation drive, which I think was that's a good time saver. So an adaptation makes sense under the following circumstances. Adaptation takes place automatically in the next drive cycle, unnoticed by the customer. And print out the attached function description relating to the adaptation drive. You have to do it after an ATF change or repairs the clutches. Takes place automatically in the next drive cycle, unnoticed by the customer. And then you would just hit continue, and it would bring you into this mode. And then it would run the adaptation on the next drive cycle. Customer doesn't even realize. And it just needs to be done to adapt the transmission. Also, some other tests that are in there that kind of came up that I thought would be pertinent. Parking brake replacement. So if I have to do a parking brake pad change, you have to go in there and do it a certain way. There's 2 different functions to do. And there's also a brake air gap calibration. So after I replace my parking brake pads, I need to make sure I have the right air gap in there. So there's actually a calibration for that in the brakes. And also battery registration. Pretty much anytime you replace a battery on a lot of European cars, Volkswagen is one of them, you need to register with the car that you've replaced the battery, so it knows how to adapt the charging system. We've explored Volkswagen Audi Group specific diagnostic functions, and that concludes our Volkswagen Audi Group specific training. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you want to catch this training live where you can ask questions, subscribe to our channel so you'll get notified when the next OEM training goes live.